Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today we're talking with Aaron Moystner about muzzleloading competition, specifically getting into muzzleloading shotgun competitions as they happen at the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association in Friendship, Indiana. Aaron is a lifelong muzzleloading enthusiast. He started shooting muzzleloaders at the age of 4 and has found his way to muzzleloading shotgun competition. I think he enjoys it primarily because of the variety and the camaraderie that he finds within it. It's a really interesting conversation, I think, about a niche within a niche here in muzzleloading. I learned a lot through the discussion. I've been hanging around Aaron quite a bit here lately, trying to soak up some of the muzzleloading shotgun knowledge. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
My name is Aaron Moystner. I am an NMLRA member. I've been shooting muzzleloaders since I was 4 years old. My grandpa really started building offhand rifles and built all of his daughters one, all of his grandkids one, and then he noticed that I was really starting to take a fond liking to the black powder lifestyle, and built me another one. And I've been shooting down at Friendship since I was 7. I think I was shooting down there at Friendship when I was 7 or 8.
That's awesome.
I've been shooting black powder muzzleloaders since I couldn't even hold the end of the barrel out. My dad held the end of the barrel, and he just said, align these sights the best you can and pull the trigger. And as soon as I got that smell in my system, I was ready to load it up again, man.
You were into it at that point.
Yeah, there wasn't no stopping me at that point.
So your family then, you had some family involvement in it before you came along.
Oh yeah. So my grandpa was part of the Pequanna Muzzleloaders Club, which was out of Jay County, Indiana. And first Saturday of the month, all the time, every month on that Saturday, he'd pick me up and we'd go shoot muzzleloaders. The muzzleloaders were so tall, he had to bring a stump with me so that I could stand on that stump just to load the muzzleloader. Yep.
That's
so
amazing.
My grandpa built, I think it was a total of 36 offhand muzzleloaders. And honestly, my mom, she comes down to Friendship, and she still shoots the same muzzleloader that he built her. I think we did the math this year. It was like 40 years ago he built that muzzleloader, and she's still knocking the X's out of the targets.
Man, that's incredible. I love hearing that you're holding on to that family history like that. That's so important.
Yep. It's always it's something that people, we can't control how our lives kind of go. Yeah. But we're just we're keepers of the past. We're just going to keep this as long as we can, but then we pass it on to the next generation the best that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a sentiment I hear it echoed, through a lot of the folks I talk to and a lot of people I hang out with, just in muzzleloading. That's something that always comes up is, regardless of your interests, we're all kind of the stewards of history in the past there, like you put it.
Yep. We got to keep it moving.
Yep. So you kind of got started there in offhand, just kind of really core traditional muzzleloading competition, just shooting offhand like that. What's your current focus? Are you still shooting that offhand, or are you working into something different?
So I really got hot and heavy into the offhand guns, just like many of thousands of people that have shot muzzleloaders. They get into the offhand guns, they get into the traditional style of shooting. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I still love to shoot my offhand gun. I still shoot some local competitions with it every now and then. But I have really kind of converted myself to the shotguns. So I shoot muzzleloading trap, muzzleloading shotgun trap, skeet, sporting clays, and then of course Quail Walk down at Friendship.
Nice. So what draws you to the competition side of things? Are you naturally competitive, or are you just always trying to improve on what you did the last time you were out?
I think it's definitely that, you're only as good of a shooter as your competition is. So if I can shoot in my backyard and I'm doing pretty good by myself, I may think, well, I'm the best there is out there. But then you start getting yourself around other people that are doing even better at even longer distances, harder birds, different loads, different shotguns. It makes you a better shooter and a better competitor, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that I'm a competitive person. I mean, everybody loves to win. I mean,
right.
But a bad day of shooting is better than a good day anywhere else in my mind. So
right.
I love the camaraderie of shooting with other people, whether we're competing together or really just hanging out on the range, burning some powder.
Yeah, that's something I really enjoy about watching the shotgun matches at Friendship. I like to go down there in the evenings because there's not a whole lot going on, shooting wise, but the shotgun ranges are lit. And so you can go down there and watch. And it's always fun to see as you guys walk back to the loading benches. There's some goofing, back and forth. There's some razzing about how the rounds are going. It's very serious once you get out there, and you get posted up waiting for the bird. But there is kind of that, family of other shooters there that you're spending time with. I think is just really nice to see.
Yeah, we have an absolute blast. I'm very biased on my feelings towards ranges. I've loved every range that I've shot on, but so far the shotgun line is just a family, from everybody, every aspect, even the most competitive shooter out there, Mr. Matt McGraw. He is the nicest person out there, and you can talk to him or anybody at any point in the day. The serious time is about 4 seconds to 5 seconds before they get set up on a station and holler pull for that bird. But after that, we all razz each other and have an absolute blast. And it really is a family down there on the trap line. Obviously every shooter has a family in each one of their ranges, but you really feel like you're one of us when you're down on the trap line. Even if you, like you said, even if you're not a competitor, you're down there just watching the night matches like Calcutta and doubles and single barrel 5-stand. You just feel like a warm welcome. I think going into it.
Absolutely. So muzzle-loading shotguns, I have found, are kind of a whole universe of themselves because there's so much depth. There's a lot of depth on just the traditional side, and then you look at what has happened in the 20th and now the 21st century when it comes to muzzle-loading shotguns. There's just an incredible amount of depth there. Can you tell me a little bit about muzzle-loading shotguns and a little bit about the variety that's out there?
There's really something for everybody when it comes to the shotgun line. We've got so many people. I know that Jody Baxter, he shoots a lot. I think a majority of his guns are underhammers, underhammer shotguns. Matt McGraw builds underhammer shotguns and competes with one. Then you can go from underhammers to, I've seen several side slappers, and that are either over or under. They can be single barrel. I've seen several inline per se in the actual technical term of an inline. I personally shoot an over under Vic Beeson built inline, 12 gauge, down to, we have everything for the truest, purest traditionalist. We have flintlocks that are flintlock. We have flintlock championships. We have double barrel flintlock side-by-sides, original guns from that old century that when you compete in those matches, you must have an original, 1800s flintlock or percussion shotgun that are only going to compete in that match. So there is a vast variety of everything that's shot down there.
I think aside from the night matches, just because it's cool to see the black powder going off at night, the originals matches are some of my favorite as well, because you see what many people would consider to be wall hangers or art pieces or museum pieces going through a brutal 50 to 100 bird match. And it's just amazing to see them going through that marathon. You have a 200-year-old gun that's shooting right alongside newly built race guns. It's just incredible.
Not just shooting against them. whooping them.
Oh, yeah.
An amazing job. I mean, so, it's a little more technical terms here, but
let's get into it.
Matt McGraw shoots an 8-bore original shotgun. Okay. So when he loads that 8-bore, he's loading that to have the same speed as his modern shotgun. Jeez. Even though it's 200 or 100 and some years old, he is still loading that gun the way that they would have loaded it back in the day to put food on the table. It's remarkable. And
that's
like I said,
awesome.
Not just shooting it just to shoot it. I mean, he is shooting it and winning, crushing. I mean, the 50 bird, or there's an original gun championship match. I believe it's 50 birds. And if I recall correctly, I think he hit 50 for 50. If not, he might have dropped one bird, but I think he ran that match with his original gun.
Man, that's just cool.
It's crazy.
When you said you had a Vic Beeson conversion, talk me through that a little bit. What did that shotgun start out as, and what did you do, or what did you have done to turn it into a muzzle-loading shotgun? Because that's something that I'm running into talking about some of the competitive side of muzzle-loading shotguns is immediately what people go to, which is very understandable, is a side-by-side double-barrel shotgun or a single-barrel, percussion shotgun, or a fowling piece of some kind. But there's a lot more variety once you get into this space.
Yeah, which I never even touched on the Fowler side. That is a side of the shotguns that I've never played with, and I've never really had a burning desire to play with. But we have many Fowlers down there that shoot on the trap range. But when it comes to, like, it's not really a conversion per se. I mean, it is actually made to be a muzzle-loading shotgun. So what he did is, mine per se exactly is a Remington 870 barrel. Okay. It's that he has put a breech plug in, and he made a stock to go on that, and converted the whole, I guess it would be converted sort of in the action side. He machined out the back end of it, made it to where it has a plunger and a spring, put a plug in the back of that Remington barrel, and it's got a number 11 cap. And mine's a 12 gauge, and I'm shooting 1 1/8 ounce of 3F GoX and 1 1/8 ounce even of 7.5 shot.
Are you running any kind of choke on the front end?
Yeah, it's choke full for trap.
Okay.
Now
Gotcha.
it's not a screw in choke.
Right.
It's a fixed choke.
Fixed choke. Okay.
Yep.
So somebody out there with, the parts for a modern shotgun could go through that process and turn that into a muzzle-loading shotgun in that kind of manner. Not that it would be necessarily to the same level of Mr. Beeson here, but it's still that's kind of the process that's happening. Yep.
What exactly? I mean, yes, you could do that 100%. You could take yourself an 870 barrel, tap the breech of it, and put a plug in, and put your not a plug. That's not the right word I want to use, but tap the rear end of it, put a breech back there basically for a number 11 cap. And that receiver is all machined out in the back, and it is all put together with a plunger and a spring with a back screw, and it shoots phenomenal. But actually anybody could do that with machinist skills, but Matt McGraw, so Vic Beeson, he was out of the Indianapolis area and has since passed. I think he passed probably, I'd venture to say 8 or 9 years ago, I would guess. But Matt McGraw is actually making those duplicates. I mean, they are the exact same gun, still using those 870 barrels, still using the same similar stock pattern. And people are having phenomenal luck with them. I mean, very good performance out of them.
Right. To circle back a little bit here, for somebody that might not be familiar with the shotgun competitions, especially at the NMLRA, when you're talking about shooting trap with these muzzleloading shotguns, that's just your typical trap like you would shoot with a modern shotgun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the same thing.
Yep. So we have at Friendship, we have 10 yard, 16, 20 yard. And then with our lovely brand new field that we have down there, the trap range that we have.
Absolutely.
I think we are going to be putting a 27 yard match in for muzzleloaders, that we're going to be shooting muzzleloading shotguns at 27 yards. All of our matches are 15 birds to 20 birds. There are some specialty matches. Like we have the Jeff Heimlich match. It's the Jeff Heimlich Memorial. It's a 20 bird match. You shoot 10 birds at 16 yards. If you shoot 17, if you hit 7 or more of those birds, you move back to 20 yards and shoot the remaining 10 birds on that match at 20 yards. So if you shoot 6 or less, then you stay at 16 yards.
Ah, okay.
So that's kind of a specialty match that we have down there. But yeah, we shoot 10 yards, 16 and 20 yards. People are often baffled that are not that don't go to Friendship or don't shoot muzzleloading shotguns. They say, you shoot trap with a muzzleloader? Like, how long does that take? Like, well, I mean, yeah, it's just not a quick 5-minute match,
Yeah.
but you load up your gun, you put your powder, your over powder wad, your cushion wad, your shot, your overshot wad. You walk out there to the station that you're on respectfully, and you call for the bird. You shoot the bird, you come back, you load it up again, and you do it 14 or 19 more times.
Right. It sounds, it sounds like it might be slow, but the efficiency of everybody there is really incredible. Both the range officers and the guys throwing the birds and how that works, as well as the shooters. I mean, it's just constant motion, which I think for me is part of the fun of watching it. Is just everybody's just going all the time.
Yep.
It's, to me, like coming from the competition side for muzzleloading, there's a lot of that head game when you go back to the bench to load. Yeah. But it's one thing when you're on like the pistol line or the bench line or the offhand line. It's a totally other one when you're walking by everybody that you're competing with or against. Go back to your loading bench and you have that extended loading process. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. We kind of call that the squirrels start talking in your head. You know?
Okay.
You start getting up there and you're thinking, man, I've hit 14 out of 14, or I've hit 13. I've hit 14 out of 15 of this match. I got one more shot left. Well, if I hit this shot, well, I just ran this 15 bird match. That's great. Then all of a sudden you start thinking and thinking and thinking. So yeah, the squirrels start talking to you a little faster when you're down there, and you're not saying that the pistol line or the rifle line it's easy.
No.
But you're not walking 20 feet after every shot to say, okay, I hit that bird. That was perfect. Okay, now I need to load this up, and don't forget your powder and don't forget your shot, and then walk out there and then, okay, well, what station did I just shoot? Well, what station am I on now? Okay, now I'm ready. Okay, now it's yell pull. Okay, now make sure you follow through and make sure you get this. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
But speaking of like speed, I mean, our championship in the fall is 100 birds. 100 birds with a muzzleloader at 16 yards. And a really good buddy of mine, Brandon Smith, I think we start that championship match at 8 a.m. And if I remember right, he'll probably tell me that I was totally wrong, but if I remember right, he shot 100 birds starting at 8 a.m. and it took him till I think 12:30 to finish 100 birds.
Man, that's a marathon. I don't care what you're shooting. If you're shooting that long, wow.
Yep. Guys can shoot doubles in that match. You can shoot a double barrel. So obviously that cuts your walking time down by half, because you can go out there, shoot 2 shots instead of 1. But I mean, still 100 birds shooting from 8 a.m. until 12:30 just after lunch. I mean, and obviously I think he did take maybe a couple 5-minute just sit down breathers but it still has, like you said, it's a marathon, man.
Yeah. Endurance is the name of the game when you're doing that. Jeez.
Yeah, mentally and in that stance physically.
Yeah. Especially if it's a warm one down there, you start sweating, and that's a whole nother game.
Oh yeah, especially because June's never really a nice cool. Well, I guess this year we had a nice cool June, but chances are it's usually about 105.
Yep.
With 100% humidity, and you got 100 birds. So it's a lot, but it's always fun. We always enjoy, razzing each other. And I'll never forget, Matt McGraw missed his first bird. I think this was last year or 2 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but he shot his first bird and missed, ran the next 99 straight.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, you want to say to yourself, like, that's pretty impressive, 99 straight, but I think I'd kind of rather miss the last one than the first one. I don't know.
You just had to get tuned in. So what are some of the favorite matches that you enjoy when you're shooting with a muzzleloading shotgun? We'll get into some of the non-competition stuff a little bit later, but I'm really interested in the competitive side at the moment.
Yeah. So I think competitiveness wise, when it comes to the trap line, I think that there's a real serious camaraderie when it comes to that Jeff Heimlich match. Jeff Heimlich meant a lot to a lot of people down there. Brian Farmer and Blake Hamilton and Colt Doster and Lloyd Smith, and he meant a lot to a lot of these people that still shoot on that trap line, and that's a pretty serious match. People get real. I mean, we always have a good time. It's always fun. I mean, there's always talking and chit chat going on, but we really all take a really big heart to that match.
Yeah.
But man, like the fun wise of it, and I love going back across the creek at Friendship and jumping on the Sporting Clays range and Quail Walk. I mean, there's no place that I know of in the world that has a Quail Walk range like we have down there at Friendship.
Yeah, I've not heard of one like it. Could you describe that a little bit for the listeners that may have not have attended?
So the Quail Walk range, it's a 10 bird match. No matter what match you get into, you still get the same birds. So there might be a single barrel match. There might be a flintlock match. There could be a doubles match. Then you even go into like report pair doubles. So you yell pull. When that first bird comes out, you shoot. The next bird goes on the report of your gun. So you'll yell pull, bird comes out, bang. The next bird comes out, bang.
Wow.
Then you've got true pairs to where when you yell pull, both birds come out at the same time. So those are the separate matches that they have down there amongst many more. But at the Quail Walk range, there's a line that you walk into a wooded section, and there's a line on the ground. You start at that. There's two lines, actually. I should rephrase that. There's two lines on the ground. You start at the first line, and you walk towards the next line, and you don't yell pull. As your foot crosses that second line, the bird comes out, just as you would if you were actually hunting. You're not going to be on a hunt and yell pull and that quail flies out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
But so as you're walking on the Quail Walk, you walk, your foot crosses that line, the trap thrower sees your foot hit that orange line and throws the bird. So it's I would venture to say it's as close to a hunting scenario as you could get.
Right. It's a little bit, it's been described to me as like a shotgun woods walk kind of thing.
Exactly. There's 2 stations or 4 birds, because there's 2 birds per station. There's 4 birds in the woods. So there's 2 stations in the woods. The other 8, no, what am I doing? 4. There's two, one, two, three, yeah. The other 4 stations are outside of the woods, and those are you call for the bird as you would normally by yelling pull or however your sign is to get the bird called. But the birds they are not trap birds. They are very hard, very challenging. They have rabbits, and we call one a mosquito because it's flying about 25, 30 feet in the air, and it is hauling the mail. I mean, it is flying across that sky, and it's only about the size of, I'd probably say it's probably a 2 or 3 inch size, diameter bird, and it is flying. So they've got the flying mosquito back there that gets a lot of people. But no, for fun, I mean, and even competition. I mean, I guess not to toot my own horn here.
Toot away.
A blind squirrel finds the nut every now and then, but in the June shoot of this year, I was blessed to win the Quail Walk championship back there, and it was amazing. It was a blast. It was the first time that I've really dedicated some time to shoot the Quail Walk, and that is definitely an underrated course back there.
That's awesome, man. I did not know that you won that in there. That's congratulations, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
That's no small feat.
It was kind of neat. I was on the last station, and it's 10 birds, five stations, and I had ran 9 straight, and I was getting ready to shoot my last bird, and my last bird was that mosquito flying through there, and I missed it. And I turned around, and they were like, well, congratulations. And I was like, congratulations? Like, I'm sure somebody else here dropped 1. And they said, nope. In all the shoot-offs, you had to hit 8. So you actually won it the station before.
Before you even got to the mosquito.
Before I even got to the hardest target, I had already won it, but nobody had told me that. So they let me go through that whole thing. I dropped 1 bird, and they said, congratulations. So
that's awesome.
It was fun. It's always a good time, whether you're winning or you're not. It's still fun birding better down there. Absolutely.
You said in that run there that the birds aren't trap birds. You know, for somebody like me who's not necessarily as experienced in the shotgun side of things, are you talking about the flight path or the physical bird there?
So actually a little bit of both.
Okay.
So there's several different types of clays. There's rabbits, which are probably about 4 or 5 inches, probably 4 inches in diameter, but they're really thin. They're pretty thin, so they can roll them on the ground at pretty fast speeds. Then you've got middies, MIDI, middy birds, and those are just smaller than the regular sized trap birds. So they throw different sizes and dimensions, I guess I should say, of the clay targets, but they're not throwing them in the traditional, whatever that degree is of a bird at that speed that you would see on the trap field. Okay. So you might have a bird going from left to right, 20 feet out in front of you. I mean, going stupid fast. So it may not be just a simple up and flying bird. Right. Not just that the trap birds are simple, but you're also, it's just a different style of shooting and following through and leading. Oh my gosh. I mean, you could have a whole TED talk on leading a bird. I mean, when you lead a bird on the trap range, you may lead it a foot to up to 3 foot maybe. When I'm back there on the Quail Walk or on sporting clays, obviously on skeet range, I might lead a bird 8 foot. I mean, it's just crazy. And that takes a lot for some people that don't normally shoot those matches, whether it's with a muzzleloading shotgun or a modern shotgun, to go from trap to go shoot sporting clays. I mean, it's a big difference. I mean, they say that you're not supposed to quote unquote aim a shotgun. Right. You point a shotgun, but I don't care what you say. I still, per se, aim my bead where I'd want that shot to go. And like I said, I might lead a bird 7 to 9 feet. I mean, it's different. And then not only lead that bird, you need to get your peripheral vision, your soft focus kind of on that bird, lead the bird, pull, bang, your gun goes off, and then continue to follow through and lead that bird. I mean, there's a lot that goes to shotgun clay sports, not just involving the muzzleloading side, just in general. So on top of, I don't think my gun shoots the 1,200 feet per second that the standard modern 12 gauge shell shoots. But I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that people don't. I mean, everybody has their game that they want to play. I mean, there's a lot to shooting 500 yards on the long range line also.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, there's a lot to every sport, but it definitely takes a learning curve. I mean, so if I shoot trap for one day on Monday of the week long June or September shoot, if I shoot trap on Monday and I'm shooting really good, and then I go back and I shoot sporting clays on Tuesday, my first match of sporting clays is not even going to be worth putting in the scorebook, because I am so used to shooting trap,
right,
that it's a different ball game.
Right, even though it's the same muzzleloader, kind of the same targets. They are clays, but it's that much of a change that you have to get reoriented when you go to that next game. Yeah.
Huh. It's just a different ball game.
Yeah.
And not that it's like drastically, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 3 days to get ready for this match.
Right.
But it's just a different muscle memory. It's just a different, your eyes are focused in a different spot, and it's just different. But it's all fun and games. We're all having a good time. And obviously I've got several people down there that watch me shoot and help me and say, hey, well, I don't know what you were doing, but you're 2 foot behind it and you need to be 4 foot in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
you kind of get some coaches from the peanut gallery there.
Yeah. Everybody helps everybody, and a lot of people are very grateful for that.
Yeah. So when shooting these matches, and we can kind of go back to trap here a little bit, because I think it might be the kind of shooting that more people are familiar with here. Do you notice it being more difficult to follow up maybe on a second bird because of that black powder smoke?
I would, depending on the match, and I mean, to kind of go into a little more detail on the matches, when I shoot doubles, so I love to shoot doubles. Doubles night matches are some of my favorite, which that all a doubles night match is obviously you have to have a double barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And when the birds come out of the trap house and they're in the same spot every time, they come out with the same flight, same speed, same pattern every time. And in those situations, the black powder smoke does not get to me personally. It may get to other people. Obviously, the wind can change anything at any time down there.
Yeah.
But it does not affect me personally, because I'm shooting one bird and then the other bird is in a totally different offset of my stance. So I can see that second bird just fine in the doubles night matches. Now, when we go to a match like Calcutta, the birds we threw a bird. You might as well call that bird the nightmare bird, because when you called for the first bird, and this is a true doubles situation, to where when I yell pull, both birds are thrown at the same time. So when I shot the first bird, it was right in front of me. Well, that's great. We can crush that first bird. But that second bird is coming right into my smoke from shooting that first bird. And you have to wait. And I mean, that bird might be 3 foot off the ground before you can see it. It was Yeah, it was a nightmare. But I like hard birds.
Mm-hmm.
I like difficult situations like that. I mean, I love to see anybody shoot great. I do. Like Jeff Nunn was on fire down there shooting this year. I think I don't know if he dropped maybe 2 or 3 out of a 20 bird Calcutta match.
Man.
If anybody has watched our Calcutta matches, they are not easy. But that's a great score. I love seeing a 17 or 18 be the high score. I don't want just an easy, we're going to have 5 shoot-offs because we had 5 people hit all the birds.
Right.
I want to see the tough birds. I want to see the ones that are screaming 40 mile an hour coming right at me. And then you got another one that's coming off to the side from a left to right angle. Those are the birds that make you a better shooter.
Yeah.
Shooting easy birds all day is not going to build your skill. Like I see you always have these guys, which there's nothing wrong with that. If you're outside shooting, having fun, teaching and being safe, God bless you. I love it. But you see guys that are out in their backyard and the trap is 2 foot in front of them and they got a 12 gauge and they're shooting birds and they're hitting every single one. Well, that's great. I mean, you're going to hit every single one. That's phenomenal. But step back 30 feet
Mm-hmm.
and see if you can keep on doing that. I mean, if you can keep on doing that, then you're building your skills. I mean, if you're hitting every single bird, then obviously you need to challenge yourself to have a little different situation.
Yeah.
So I love building on my skill. I am not the best shooter, nor do I ever plan to be the best shooter, because I hope that the birds keep on getting harder and I keep on growing.
Yeah. So
Yep.
On that note, is there much of a crossover in the skills from shooting a muzzleloading shotgun to modern shotguns? Because I know you and other folks out there shoot, just a modern trap match now and then.
Yeah. So I don't think that the skill is any different. You still have to have your stance, your follow through, your lead. You still have to know what your sight picture per se, if you want to call the bead and the orange dot, a sight picture, but you still need to know when to pull the trigger. The only difference between modern and black powder is 100% speed. Now, can you load your black powder gun to have a similar speed? 100%. I know that Matt McGraw, he shoots an 8 gauge, and he swears by an 8 gauge because he says if you shoot, I'm 99% sure this is what he says. This is his load, but he says if you shoot an 8 gauge with ounce and 5/8 of powder, an ounce and 5/8 of shot, even, you're going to get a similar speed to your modern gun. So he says that like a 10 gauge or a 12 gauge, it's almost impossible to get the same speed for a modern gun. So he shoots, oh my gosh, I think he told us down there in the fall that he shot 10,000 rounds just for practice for the fall shoot.
Oh my gosh.
And that is not even probably a close exaggeration. I think he literally shot, let's lowball him. It may have been 8,000, but I know that he shot at minimum 8 to 10,000 rounds practice just for the fall shoot championship.
Man.
But now I don't know if that was with his modern gun or with his black powder gun.
Okay.
But either way, he has his black powder gun. The speed of his shot is the same as his modern gun.
So he can use them interchangeably, in that sense.
100%. And he builds his stock around, for his black powder gun, he builds his stock around his modern gun. So the weight, the feel, the swing, all of that is the exact same as his modern gun. So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, just like on every range, there's a lot of science and math that goes into making the best black powder shotgun, just like it does with, slug gun and the long range line and pistols. I mean, everybody makes it as no nonsense as possible. And it does not stop at the trap range.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you figure that Matt is looking at it as he needs the diameter of that 8 gauge or that 8 bore you're talking about to be able to get enough in there?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, you can,
if I'm following that correctly.
Yeah, you can shoot 1 5/8 or 1 3/4. I would say reasonably safe, because obviously safety is key for everything.
Absolutely.
Out of a 12 gauge. Now you're going to know it went off. I mean, you're going to have some ridiculous recoil, but that's where the 8 bore comes in.
Okay.
When you shoot 8 gauge bore, however you want to call it, but that 8 gauge, he can load that thing up with. Man, I know that during the shoot offs when we were shooting back there at like 27 yards, I think he was putting like 2 1/4 ounces even in that.
Man,
I mean, you knew the gun went off.
Yeah.
And he's not chipping birds. He is disintegrating birds at 27 yards. I mean, there's no question of did he nick that right there? Nope.
The bird is just gone.
It's gone. So, I mean, you try to knock them, but when the birds are breaking, you kind of just got to say, "Yep, I guess that works, Matt." So
that's fascinating. I love that kind of scientific or, home shop science, however you want to look at that aspect of muzzleloading competition, because you're really getting down into, this is what I have to work with. Everything has to go in from the muzzle. This is the ignition source that I have. And what can I do to optimize this 150, 200-year-old loading system? Because nothing has changed.
Yeah. They're still shooting the same stuff. I mean, I'm shooting Go X3F. I'm shooting Mike Eaters with Flintlocks LLC. I'm shooting his wads. I'm shooting homemade shot. I mean, my shot does not look perfectly spherical. I mean, my shot probably wouldn't be able to run through a mech reloader for shotgun shells because it's not that perfectly round. But I'm shooting it in a muzzle loader. We don't have any shot cups. We don't have. We're just putting this lead right against the bore, and we're pulling and praying that God's with us to break the birds.
Pulling and praying. I love that.
Yeah. It is what it is, but we're just down there just to try to break as many birds as possible and have a good time doing it.
This podcast is brought to you by Thor Bullets. I've talked about Thor Bullets for over a year now, and I'd like to thank them again for their sponsorship. I have since, in this amount of time, went out and tested these bullets on my range. I have not gone hunting with them, but in my penetration testing and my accuracy testing with my CVA Acura LRV2, I have to say that the Thor Hammer bullets sized to my bore for that Acura do a phenomenal job. I have sub 1-inch groups at 100 yards if I do what I'm doing right with the rifle. Really can't speak highly enough of these bullets. I think you should try them, not just because they're supporting the show, but because they are performing really well in the tests that I am doing. Check out Thor Bullets. This podcast is brought to you by Muzzleloader Magazine, the publication for traditional black powder shooters. Since 1974, Muzzleloader has been the leading magazine devoted to traditional black powder hunting and shooting. Each issue is jam-packed with articles on hunting, shooting, gunsmithing, do-it-yourself projects, living history, American history, book and product reviews, and much, much more. Muzzleloader Magazine is the best traditional muzzleloading magazine, bar none. I'd like to thank Jason at Muzzleloader Magazine for his continued support of I Love Muzzleloading and the I Love Muzzleloading podcast. I don't care what you're into. If you're interested in muzzleloading, this is the kind of magazine I think you need to check out. Thank you, Muzzleloader Magazine, for your support. write that down, pulling and praying.
Yep. Just like, I mean, and when you talked about who is possible to do this, I mean, what does it come to age, an age category to, I mean, male, female, we have women's championships and women's matches. And I tell you right now, we have some amazing women shooters down there that would give any guy a run for their money on the trap line.
Oh yeah. No, the couple matches I saw in September, there was some pretty good ribbon going back and forth there. That was really, yeah. I mean, it's really neat. I mean, I think it's really refreshing for me to see it at Friendship, especially just the variety of shooters. I mean, you have big guys up there, 6+ feet tall that are just kind of jacked. They're just big dudes out there shooting. Yeah. And then you have the whole range all the way down to petite, but will just shoot the daylights out of it. Ladies and kids down there. That's just incredible. And they're all just having fun.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that, I mean, I would personally, I'm biased obviously, but I would consider shooting 100% a sport. I mean, like you said, walking for 100 birds, 20 feet all the time, that gets on you physically. Mm-hmm. And then, to keep your composure gets on you mentally. And we've got young kids like Caden Farmer. He's down there. I think he'll turn 16 this year, ran a match. I mean, ran 20 birds. And then it wasn't just a match. It was the dove match, which has the birds flying. I mean, they might be 20 feet in the sky and they may be 3 foot off the ground, and 20 birds, and he ran it. I mean, just like, I didn't even know anybody's ever ran it. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, how'd you shoot that?" He said, I hit them all. And I was like, no way. It's like, seriously? He's like, yeah, I ran them. I'm like, all 20? He's like, yep, smoked them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't ever. There's no way. I'd miss my 5th bird and quit.
Right. Yeah. You're just kind of like, oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then we've got guys like Jack Truelove down there. I think he's 80, 85. Let's say, I know he's mid to late 80s, and he loads up his gun, puts it in a walker, and he has a little gun rack with a lock, so it's all safe. Puts it on his walker, wheels his walker to his station, unhooks his gun, pulls it out, shoots the bird, puts it back in there, and takes it back and reloads. Mid to late 80s, and he is still burning powder and breaking birds with the best of them.
I mean, I hope we can all be doing that when we're that age.
Oh,
I mean, come on.
You and me both. I just told Mom the other day, I said, if it comes down to the point where I am in a car wreck or something and I can't and I can't go shoot and yell, pull and break birds, I said, you might as well just pull the plug on me, because I don't even see much point of living anymore.
Right.
I mean, oh yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a great place with great people.
Absolutely. So are you able to do a lot of hunting with your muzzleloaders or your muzzleloading shotguns?
I have here and there. Mm-hmm. So I do go turkey hunting with I've got a Thompson Center Encore, and thankfully Thompson Center made a 209 ignition by 12. So it's, a lot of people know about the Encore 209 by 50, which is just a 50 caliber 209 ignition muzzleloading rifle. But they made a 209 by 12 Encore barrel. And I do go hunt with that for turkey. About the past 3 or 4 years, I've been taking my over-under number 11 cap inline that Vic Beeson made. I've been taking that pheasant and quail hunting, just on put and take hunts. No wild birds or nothing, but just on put and take hunts. And it's been, oh my gosh, it's more fun than you can shake a stick at. I'm telling you for a fact.
I'd love to do that someday.
Yeah, you get guys out there. And of course, I always ask the dog handlers. I'm like, hey, are the dogs going to be good if like smoke comes out? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm hunting like a muzzleloader. They're like, nah, are you serious? As I'm putting on my possibles bag, and running my ramrod through my possible slings, and they're like, wait, seriously? I'm like, yeah, they're like, well, you ain't going to hit nothing with that. What are you doing? Just playing with it? I'm like, whatever, man.
Yeah,
like,
let's go.
you'll see here. You'll see. Just let a bird fly. You'll see. So it's always a good time seeing. Like I said, not saying I'm the best shooter in the world, but it's always a good time when a bird flushes and 3 guys miss with a 12 gauge modern gun. And here I am like, I'll just give it like a 4 or 5 foot lead out there. It'll be all right. Boom! That gun goes off. That bird drops, and all their jaws are just on the ground. Like, did you hit that? I'm like, well, yeah, I hit it. Well, what is that? 12 gauge muzzleloader. Not just another piece of junk. So it's always downplayed by a lot of society that, that's nothing. You're not going to do anything good with that. Well, little do they know it's efficient and way more fun than a modern.
Absolutely. Yeah, the extra steps aren't a hindrance. They kind of add enjoyment to it.
No. And like I said, I got that double barrel, if one bird flashes, I just tell everybody, let's take a little break here. We'll all take a little breather while I start reloading.
Right.
I go ahead and reload, then they're like, well, you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting on you guys. I'm just having to reload my gun here.
Catch your breath, guys. Let's go.
Yeah. Just making excuses.
Yeah. Well, that's all part of the fun.
Yeah, it's a blast though. But yeah, I mean, and I've not killed a turkey with that Encore barrel, but maybe one of these days it'll happen.
This coming year, man, it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. The hardest part about turkey hunting I think you said you got quite a few turkeys up in northern Indiana, but yeah. I'm over here east central Indiana, and turkeys are far and few between. So that gun's good to about 30, 40 yards. I'd feel very confident in killing a bird at that distance with that gun.
Man, that's awesome.
Yep.
So what tips would you have for somebody that was new to muzzleloading? Just kind of, we can go broad here, or we can go shotgun specific, but I always like to ask this question.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing for anybody that is even just slightly curious on black powder is don't be shy. Don't be scared to, look like a fool. You got to ask questions, get around people that are already acquainted with it, meet people online. Dude, like that, the I Love Muzzleloading group that you and me, that you started, but we're all on, yeah, that is such a great asset to somebody that's new. You can find so much information on Facebook groups. Thinking if I told that to my grandpa, if he was still alive, like, Facebook groups, you're getting information off of Facebook groups.
But, sometimes you want to make sure that you're reading both sides, because sometimes the answer is in between,
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's just so much information out there. And I know that I'm sure most or a lot of listeners might not be within friendship driving range, but man, just don't be scared to go up to somebody at friendship, either on the especially on the shotgun line, the trap line, any of those lines on there that shoot shotgun. Don't be scared to go up to somebody and say, what is that?
Yeah.
What are you shooting? Like, how do you load it? And chances are, I'd venture to say 99.9% of anybody down there on the trap line would say, do you want to shoot it? Like, we'll load up some and you can shoot it. I think that it's very intimidating for new shooters because there's so much to it.
Yeah.
There's so many, not just to shooting it, but to loading it, the items you need to load it. One, finding it, but also making sure that you have the right stuff. Black powder has so many different brands. Mm-hmm. And then they're looking at, 1F, 2F, 3F, 4F. Okay, well, now what do I need? Then you're looking at, okay, number 10 caps, number 11 caps. Do I need musket caps? There's so much stuff to it, and it's really intimidating for people. But I think I would venture to say, and from what I have seen, it's true, 98% of the black powder muzzle loading community in general are the nicest, genuine people that you'll ever meet. I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
You can reach out to anybody, and if you say, what are you shooting? Or, hey, I'm looking for a muzzleloading shotgun, or I'm looking for a muzzleloader in general. Where do I go about getting one? You know, we all know some place, somewhere, somebody that has one for sale, or that you can buy one. I mean, you can go buy a brand new Pedersoli side-by-side shotgun. Are they the greatest things to ever come off of the face of the earth in the shotgun world? Probably not. Is there worse? Yes. Is there better? Of course. But for a great starting gun that's sub the $1,000 mark, it's great. It gets you. That's what I started on. I started 100%. I got into muzzleloading shotgun. I won the U-Shoot in 2010. 2010, I won the U-Shoot. First place prize was a Pedersoli side-by-side 12-gauge shotgun with screw-in chokes. And at the time, I was a offhand shooter. I was like, what the heck am I going to do with this? Like, I got it home, wiped it down with oil, put it in the gun safe, and I was like, I'm not a shotgun shooter. Well, then a couple of buddies that I knew down there, they were like, hey, why don't you come shoot the Calcutta with us, which is that Wednesday night specialty match. And I was like, all right, I'll go down there. I'll just play with you guys on Wednesday night, Never looked back.
Right.
Literally is the most fun I've ever had. And I pick up my offhand gun maybe once every other year. Maybe once a year I might. And I'm a shotgun shooter now. So there's a lot of starting out shotguns that will get you where you want to go, that you can buy, keep, use it. And if you're like, I want to upgrade, they're super easy to pass on to sell to somebody else, or just keep them, make them a field gun.
Yeah.
A gun that, you want to upgrade your competition gun, but you still want a gun that you don't mind if you have to set it down in a bean field or something like that. Take your Pedersoli. I mean, they're great guns that are less than, I want to say they're like $800, which isn't cheap, but for any gun nowadays, there's not a cheap brand new gun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just kind of where you're at with materials and inflation. Yeah. That's kind of the price range that you're at, and it's a bummer, but you just have to save for a couple more months or another year or something is how I look at it. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're all kind of affected by the world right now. So
yeah,
we all just kind of have to deal with it. I mean, I hate it. I mean, nobody likes it.
No.
What else are you going to do, So I think that's a great way to get started. I mean, just a great starting gun. Talk to Mike Eater at Flintlocks. He has all the wads and shot that you can need, and burn GoX if you're going to burn powder. Just my 2 cents.
Making your plug there.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get you a sponsorship.
Yeah. No, but there's a bunch of guys. And like when it comes to powder, I mean, if anybody's wants to get technical, I mean, Matt McGraw, he shoots Swiss in his, I think it's Swiss. I'm pretty sure he shoots Swiss in his shotgun. I mean, he is that serious. Swiss is so precise and so quality controlled, I should say.
Yeah.
That's what he shoots. But we've got, I mean, I think a majority of the guys on there are shooting GoX. We've got several shooters, probably 10, 15 guys I know shoot Old Insford. I mean, and the guys are shooting 2F and 3F. I mean, I shoot 3F GoX, but there's plenty of guys that are shooting 2F also.
Do you personally notice much difference between the granulations?
Granulations, yes. I think 3F is quite a bit. I don't know if I'd say quite a bit, but it's hotter.
Yeah.
I can shoot an ounce and an eighth of 3F to an ounce and an eighth of 2F straight, and yeah, I'm sure it's. I think I feel a little more velocity in the 3F. Now, is it in my head? Probably 80% of it's in my head, you know.
Uh-huh.
But do I feel that the 3F is hotter and I'm getting more speed and I'm breaking the birds because I'm shooting 3F? Probably. But if that's just breaking birds, I'll keep on shooting my 3F, you know.
You're right. Yeah, if it works, don't mess with it.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of different things that it works. You know, it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. You know, you look at Matt McGraw and he went 99 for 100 shooting Swiss. Well, do you go out there and say, I'm gonna start shooting Swiss?
Right.
No, you shoot what works for your gun, and you shoot what you shoot best that you can financially afford and make the best of it. And as long as you're having fun and hitting some birds, you can't ask for much more than that.
I couldn't agree more on that. Find what works and let her rip.
Yep. Don't church it up, Bert. You know.
I will say though, on the subject of muzzleloading shotguns, I cannot believe at what working grade originals will go for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, if you are dead set that you need a muzzleloading side by side, you know, nothing against the Pedersolis at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But man, I mean, I was told this week about 3 original percussion side by sides for like $750 to $800 a piece.
Seriously?
Yeah, out in Pennsylvania. And it's just,
wow.
And it's nuts. I mean, and I noticed too, I like looking at the racks at Friendship, you know, just to see what's out there. And even on the trap range now and then, there'll be a nice piece. Now it's not going to be necessarily a champion shooter, but if you're wanting something to go hunting with or to bust some birds with, there's nothing. I mean, it's just crazy.
I mean, I was talking to Brandon Smith the other day, and he was talking about, you know, it'd be nice to have a new McGraw underhammer gun. You know, it'd be great. Everybody wants the newest, nicest stuff, especially coming from a builder like Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt McGraw. There's not much better when it comes to brand new off the shelf. But you know, is it really going to be that's the cutting edge to break 1 or 2 more birds? Probably not.
Right. Probably
not. I mean, it might make you feel good. Ooh, I got the newest thing. This is the one.
Yeah.
But like my dad said, when my dad was still alive and I was shooting offhand guns, he said, Aaron, you know how to shoot. You need to learn how the gun shoots.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows how, well, most listeners probably know how to load a muzzleloader, powder patch ball, you know, powder wads shot, you know, but that's just, everybody knows how to do that. You need to learn how to shoot the gun and how to accurately, precisely do what you're trying to do with that gun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just equipment. I mean, that's why I said you guys can get a Pedersoli and crush birds with that Pedersoli. Then you're like, well, I got something nicer. Well, you might want something nicer, but daggone, if you're crushing birds with that $800 Pedersoli, well, I mean, why can't you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you right now, any listener listening, I'll tell you for a fact, if you can find a original shootable, I mean, doesn't have to be pristine bore, just has to be shootable original for less than $800, you might as well just go ahead and pick it up.
Right. I mean, it's a steal at that point.
Yeah. I mean, my goodness. Yeah. I have noticed that now that you mentioned that, and I think back to like the prices of those guns at Friendship for sale, the prices they're not ridiculous.
No, I mean, I see stuff on the forums, like Navy arms, like side by sides and things, going for more than nice English or Belgian originals. And I'm not talking like investment guns, big auction house guns, but guns that have worked in the fields and could, still have some life in them.
I tell you right now, a prime example of you always love to talk to the guy that doesn't know what he has. I went to a gun shop up in Michigan. True story. True as the day is long. Okay. Went to a gun shop in Michigan. This guy had this double barrel in the corner of this gun shop. And I was like, well, kind of piqued my interest there. I'll check that out. Looked at it. It was an original crab claw Wesley Richards. Well, or it was a 10-bore hammer gun, crab claw. I'm like, what you got on this? He said, it'll never shoot again. It'll never shoot again. It's just a wall hanger, never shoots. Got a dent in the barrel and it'll never shoot. I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? And he was like, $125. We'll take it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll take it. I'm like, just the locks are worth $500. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, which, I mean, in that situation, the guy named his price. I mean, I don't want to run over people that are just trying to make a living here.
Right.
But like, you name your price for $125 for a Wesley Richards. Yeah, I think I'll take that.
So can you do anything? I mean, how bad was the dent in the barrel?
Yeah, it was about probably 8 inches from the muzzle, and it was a pretty nasty dent. I bet you the dent was an 1/8 inch thick. I mean, it was probably an 1/8 inch into it.
Jeez.
But no, I talked to Steve Chapman, and he had a Steve Chapman shoots on the offhand line down there. Super nice guy again. He had a 12 gauge dent puller for a barrel.
Oh, really?
Well, this was a 10-bore, and I was like, "You think it'll work?" He said, "Oh, give it a shot. What are you out? If it doesn't work."
Right.
So I got it, and I slowly but surely, I think it took me 2 hours to get that dent out of that barrel because I was so scared of that Damascus barrel.
Oh yeah, you don't want that to open up.
Yeah, so I went so slow, and I'd crank it out, and then I'd tap all around that dent, and then crank it out some more. But anyways, no, the dent came out beautifully. The opening lever was broke and missing. Well, I've actually got it to a guy down in Tennessee right now. He's working on it to just try to fab up an opening lever for it, and we'll see what happens. I told him, I said, when you get it fixed, take it out, shoot it, take it hunting with.
That's awesome.
But like, yeah, just the prices of stuff. I mean, in all honesty, like you said, for the inflation and the economy that we're in right now, prices of muzzleloaders and I don't know if I'd say guns in general, but for sure muzzleloaders, they're fairly reasonable.
It's something I'm going to cover at some point. I'm kind of trying to wrap up the research on it this winter. Yeah. But even just through a basic inflation calculator, when the Thompson Center Hawken was first released, it was $250.
Yep.
That money today is over $1,200.
Yep.
I don't know anybody that would pay $1,200 today for a Thompson Center Hawken.
No, you'd be lucky to get a fourth of that.
Right. And so like,
yeah,
I'm not justifying the price increases, but in context, if somebody for guys like us, we never saw the 70s or the 80s. And we saw a little bit of the 90s, to age us here a little bit, but we're just kind of stuck where we're at, and it's either buy the stuff and go out there and do it or not. And it kind of stinks to not. So we're out here trying to do it.
Yeah. Just like you talked about down there after that night match, if GoX is $24 a pound, and it's made in the United States now. Yeah. You're going to pay that made in America premium, but my love for black powder and just the camaraderie with everybody down there. I'm not going to say, nope, I'm not going to Friendship because I can't afford $24 a pound. I mean, heck, I think in the fall shoot, I went through 6 pounds. I went through 6 pounds of powder.
That's a chunk, dude, in a week.
I mean, I'm not made of money over here, but like that's my vacation. Like I love to go down there and shoot and talk to everybody and meet up with people that I don't see. I mean, even you and me, I mean, we might see each other outside of the shoots maybe one time.
Yeah.
But like I only get to catch up with guys like you and others twice a year. So that's my time. I'll pay the premium of the Made in America GoX and be able to still shoot if that's what it takes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do is, every paycheck that comes in, there's a little, there's a slice set aside for diapers and groceries and all that stuff. And there's a small slice at the end of it, that is little muzzleloading stuff, so that when I go to like Friendship, I can go and pay to shoot a few matches and grab some powder and get some supplies. And because, and we all do that, that's what we do. And that's what any hobby does. Yep. It's just how it goes.
I mean, bills still happen whether you have hobbies or not.
Right.
I mean, you still, like you said, you got diapers and bills and gas and food, and you and the wife still want to go out and do stuff and go catch a movie or something. Like it's not going to stop you from doing those things. You just have to be conscious that, hey, June's coming up and I want to do this. Well, then you just learn how to budget.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like everything else. It's just budgeting on that, and how much you want to do it dictates how much that budget's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's the price you pay to go shoot in the greatest place on earth.
That's right, man. There's nothing else like it. I mean, it's just, I think I'm just now like this week coming off of the high from being down there and shooting, and having fun and seeing everybody.
100%. I bet you I got the guns clean and everything put away. I looked around my house and I was like, well, this is kind of sad. Like I got to wait till June of next year to go down there to spend a week. I mean, we still have some weekend shoots. I think we still have the turkey shoot, and I'm actually heading down there this weekend for the Boy Scout shoot to volunteer to.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep, to help with the Boy Scouts. So they're I don't know how many kids they're going to put through, but I think they said like 150, 200 kids were going to shoot through the trap range.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Like I said, passing it on to the next guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, great, man. I really appreciate you coming on and chat with me this evening. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but is there anything else that you'd like to cover that we may have missed?
No, I think we pretty much spread the message of how fun the trap shooting is and how fun muzzleloading shotgun shooting in general is. It's a blast. If anybody's makes it to Friendship, come down and don't hesitate to ask anybody to shoot. We'll get you guys hooked up. Mention Ethan in this little podcast, and we'll get you guys taken care of, no problem.
Oh, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
If I was wanting to come down with my double barrel in June and not look like a total fool, how should I practice? What should I do to practice?
So you got a 12 gauge?
Yeah.
Yep. So, I would pretty much every 12 gauge. I just suggest 1.125 ounces of powder, whatever powder you prefer. And then, your over powder card. I personally take my cushion wads and I cut them in half. Because if I load a full cushion wad, a lot of times that'll blow a hole in my pattern. That's
what I was finding.
Yep. So I take a half a cushion, and then I load 1.125 ounces of whatever your desired shot, 7.5, 6s, whatever you have, and then your overshot. And to practice your trap, I mean, I would either take do you have like a hand, like not a hand thrower, but like the foot thrower,
okay.
the manual spring, and then you pull a string or your foot pedal and it throws the bird.
Okay.
I'd get that like you get that like 15 foot in front of you, throwing straightaways, and you're hitting those pretty good, man, that's all you need.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind here and see if I can get any of that done.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way that I can do. And now, if you get lucky, I don't know what gun ranges you have around you. A lot of ranges have loading benches, or at least a loading. I don't know about loading benches like we are known to have loading benches, but at least like a bench behind their trap line. And if you ask them and you say, hey, I'm shooting muzzleloading trap, is it okay if I just go out here and get 10 birds? A lot of them will let you. I know that if you go to Indiana Gun Club and tell them that you're going to shoot muzzleloading trap, that's no problem for them.
Awesome.
Yep. So that's some place that people can go and practice, and it's a great facility. I mean, not a little plug for Indiana Gun Club, but it really is a great facility.
Well, that's good to know. I'm always hunting little places to go, a little day trip here and there.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions that they wanna direct to me exactly, you can find me on that I Love Muzzleloading page on Facebook. I'm on several of those social medias, but honestly, to reach out to me, that'd probably be the best one. So if you have any questions to me, if I don't know the answer, I will for sure find somebody that does know the answer. So we'll get anybody taken care of with any questions they have.
I'd like to thank Aaron again for coming on to the podcast here and spending an evening with me, answering questions and sharing some knowledge about muzzleloading shotguns. I'm really interested in, obviously, all aspects of muzzleloading here, but the muzzleloading shotgun space, I think, is really interesting because shotguns are typically thought of as the least accurate arms out there. And then when you throw in muzzleloading along with that, like Aaron said there's just kind of this general thought that these aren't usable, they aren't functional. We've moved on from them, but it's really something to see Aaron and the other muzzleloading shotgun shooters, really the champions of a lot of the contemporary competition here, going at it and busting clays. If you're interested in this, I should have at least one video out around the similar time as this podcast goes out on the I Love Muzzleloading channel, and I will do my best to link that in the episode description so that you can see at least one of these matches, how they go down, and get a little bit of a sense and get some visual for what Aaron is talking about with these matches, because it is really interesting. Once these matches get going, it's kind of a well-oiled machine as everybody starts running through and busting birds. It's really neat, and I just want to mention that in case you want a visual to go along with a little bit what we're talking about. I'll also have a link to the I Love Muzzleloading Facebook group that Aaron very kindly mentioned. It's kind of our group hangout spot on Facebook. Kind of makes or takes up the place really of an I Love Muzzleloading forum where we can talk a little bit about muzzleloading, answer questions, and share a little bit, from everybody what we're all doing in muzzleloading and share research and knowledge and tips and tricks and things. So if you're interested in or you have some questions about what we've been talking about, feel free to start up a thread in that Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, which I totally understand and massively respect, you can reach out to me via email, and I'll do my best to put you in contact with Aaron here or have him. I'll pass along questions and then get them back to you, get the answers back to you, so we can share a little bit more of this knowledge, because it's a lot to go through, even in the hour or so that we spent here this evening. There's a lot to digest, and I'm sure it's generated some questions. So please ask them. It gets my head going a little bit on answering some of this stuff and trying to answer or find answers, really. And Aaron so kindly mentioned his willingness to answer those questions as well. So I really appreciate that, Aaron. That's all I've got for you this week. We've got plenty of videos, plenty of articles, and more podcasts on the way. You can find everything at ilovemuzzleloading.com. We've got muzzleloading news, reviews, and much, much more. A lot of goofy times at the range here, but it's all in good fun. So you can find that, as always, at ilovemuzzleloading.com. Once again, I'm Ethan. I Love Muzzleloading. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time.